Hi. Okay, I'm so excited about today's video because I have been into reading for the last probably like 4 months, and I've never been a reader. It was so hard for me to get into like leisure reading growing up. So now that like I'm out of school and I can just like leisurely read and not worry about like the fact that I'm not doing homework or studying for a test is so nice. And I've been binging YouTubers that make reading content. So now I finally feel like I could actually do that. So because I'm not like a book channel, figured I'd wrap everything into one. So I'm gonna talk about the books that I read in March, and then also the books or options of books that I have to read in April, and then kind of like a collective book haul because I know not all of these that I just got I can read in April. So March reading wrap up, April TBR book haul. Let's get into it. Okay, I'm not sure if I can do these in order, but I think I remember what order I read them in. So I read 5 books in March. The first one was the 7th book in the Enola Holmes series. So Enola Holmes is Sherlock Holmes' younger sister, and on her 13th birthday, like the whole point of the series is on her 13th birthday, her mom went missing or disappeared, and so she had to call in her older brothers, Sherlock and Mycroft. Obviously Sherlock Holmes is the, detective, everyone knows, hotshot, great. But her brothers like come home to realize like Enola is not the stereotypical girl being brought up into the world. She's definitely free-willed, just like her mom, and they want to like then control her future. And so she runs off and is like, absolutely not, that's not happening. And that's what the series is just like her wanting to also be, I don't know if detective's the right word, but just like she likes solving stuff. She's very smart, and so she wants to do that, but also try to hide from her brothers. And so the series is really fun. This was amazing. There's definitely a gap between the releases of books 6 and 7, so I liked this. This was top notch. But I also watched the Enola Holmes movie on Netflix before I realized it was a book series. I definitely knew of Sherlock, but I just didn't know this was a book series. So I read all these after watching that, and I personally really like that because I was envisioning Millie Bobby Brown and Henry Cavill, I think that's how you say his last name, Sherlock and Enola in the movie. And that was really fun because I envisioned like, their banter, their bickering, and having those characters in mind. Like, it was just very fun. So this was really great. I'm not a picky book rater person. I just got on Goodreads, but I think I gave this 5 stars because I loved it. Okay, the next book I read was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I also loved this book. I am such a binge reader, so I don't think I put this down. Like, I probably read it in actually 2 sittings, but whew. So it follows Pip, that is a senior in high school, and I guess there was this case 5 years ago that it was kind of a murder-suicide case where it's a boyfriend and girlfriend, and it is believed that the boyfriend killed the girlfriend and then ended his own life. But Pip, the main character, she knew the boyfriend just like growing up and like just amongst other friends and stuff. She's like, I knew of him, or I was around him. I just don't feel like he did this. So as her senior year capstone project, she kind of just reinvestigated the case, and so you follow along with her as she's like discovering stuff, and then has like these entries into her capstone project, and you feel like you're solving the case with her. Now I will say I never figured out who did it. I mean, until like the end when like everything was revealed. Like through the book, I could never guess. There was just so much going on in the best way possible. Like it was so good. I gave this 5 stars for sure. And I know it's a series, so I probably will read the second book soon, but I just haven't like jumped on that. Next book I read, oh my god. The next book I read was Verity by Colleen Hoover. Guys, I mean, if I could give this 6 stars, I would. This was so good. So I'm gonna try my best to explain this because without just like straight up reading the back of the cover, because you can go do that. I know that Colleen Hoover writes a lot of more like romance type books, and so she was like, this is like not something I normally put out. So like, thank you guys for like actually reading it and stuff. And I was like, girl, put more of this out. Put more of this out. Okay. It follows Lowen, which is an author, but like she's kind of struggling, like she's had hardships in her own life, and so she's kind of a struggling author and really needs like a big break, like a contract, you know. Like she's not really up to like, I need a big break to be like famous and like everyone know me, but just like she enjoys writing, she prefers to be quiet and like private, but like she needs another contract. And then pops in Jeremy Crawford, which is the husband of a very well-known author, Verity. And evidently Verity, some reason, like in the beginning, like years, like for some reason, she can't finish the series that she's on contract to finish for like an accident or whatever. And so Jeremy, the husband, tries to hire Lowen to finish off the series. And when, you know, Lowen accepts it, she goes to Verity's home, I mean their home, and she's going through Verity's, like, I guess, office with all the stuff, and she comes across an autobiography that, you know, clearly she intended no one to see. And so Lowen just finds that, finds a lot of information that she's like, oh my god. And it is just plot twists and thriller. Like, I am someone that I love horror movies and like thriller suspense movies, and like I get scared so easily, but like I love watching them. But I was like, okay, reading a book, there's no way I'm gonna be like scared. Like I'll be like, this is really good, I'll love it. I was scared in moments of reading this. I was like, I don't know if I can read this, and I'm like squinting my eyes, like, do I really want to? Like, it was so good. Colleen Hoover, this slapped. Please write more of this. The next book I read was the first Bridgerton book. So I had already binged the series. Again, I'm terrible. I don't know when things are actually books too. But I binged the first season. I was obsessed with it. Like, I only recently binged it. Like, it was like a full year after it came out. And I was like, now I'll watch it. Binged it. Loved it. Then I was like, I need to read the book. It was good. And what I guess some people could complain about is there are differences in the TV show versus book. There's always gonna be that. That stuff doesn't necessarily bother me. I feel like I just get either additional information or maybe just I've already like fallen in love with the characters and like the actors and actresses that I'm like, I just get to envision more scenes of them and like different scenes with them. So that stuff doesn't bother me. Like, I'm fully aware that when you're doing a TV series stuff, like, you have to develop all the characters kind of at the same time, and these books are definitely structured focusing on two people, not like, oh, we're also gonna develop her sister's character in this book. Like, no, that's what her own book's for. So I really like this. I thought it was good. I also envisioned like the actor and actress that played Daphne and Simon. I guess if you haven't seen Bridgerton, you wouldn't know what this is about. It's about like the whole Regency era in London, and it's the season of like matchmaking essentially. And so a duke comes into play, just he's in town, came back from traveling, and he's like no interest in marrying. Of course, classic, right? And then Daphne's here like, I have to get out of here. Like, I mean, this is my duty. I need to fulfill this. I'm ready to marry. I want to marry. I want to have kids, like all this stuff. And the Duke's like, I don't want to marry. And then like they start interacting, and essentially they fake a courtship in order for Simon to not have all the moms like coming after him with their daughters. And then Simon is fully aware like men want what they can't have. So if men think that Daphne is like taken or gonna be taken, then they're gonna pay more interest to her. So that's what they do. But then obviously it's like, oh, maybe I like your company more than I thought I would. Really good. I liked it. The last book I read in March was One Day in December. I mean, looking at the cover, total rom-com vibes, right? Okay, so it follows Lori, Sarah, and Jack. Lori and Sarah are roommates, and they like just finished college, so they're like early 20s. And Lori is someone that's like, love at first sight isn't real. That's just in the movies. That doesn't happen. And like true love, blah, 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 magic, no. And then one day she is coming home from a very long day at work, and she's, on the London bus, and they come to some bus stop, and she looks out, she sees Jack, they lock eyes, magical moment. For a year afterwards, she tries to find him, and he didn't get on the bus, so they can't talk. Ugh, boys. But for a whole year, she tries to find him. She does not give up on this. She's just so captivated by the thought of him. And then after a year, her and her roommate are having their kind of some annual party type thing that they always throw, and Sarah, brings her boyfriend that she wants Lori to meet, and it's Jack. Ouch. Now Jack and Lori instantly pretend not to know each other type of thing, or pretend like they haven't met before, because they're not sure if they would. I mean, it's been a year, it's and it was just one moment. Obviously Lori, we all know, was that's him. But she's I don't know if he remembers me, I don't know anything, so it's not brought up. So it's a 10-year story, and it follows Lori and Jack and Sarah. Now what I really liked about this, so this is by Josie Silver, so I don't know if she does this in other books, but okay, how do I, so it says 2008, and then first page it's showing Lori, and then time passes, whatever, and you also see Jack. So it kind of goes between both of their thoughts and views, and I love that. That was so interesting to me. I thought she did a really great job of writing from a male perspective, because I feel that could be, pretty hard. Did not seem super cheesy. Of course, look up trigger warnings for this as well. They do deal with grief, and they're very, the book's just very open about that stuff. And I don't know, it just seemed real while also being that total rom-com vibe. I actually think I gave this 4 stars. This is the only 4 stars I gave in those books, because I do kind of become obsessed with the characters in a sense, where I just want to read about Lori and Jack. And so in parts of the book, there was I was really pushing myself to read past those pages, because they weren't really involving those two together, interacting with each other. Is oh, this is what Lori's doing, and this is what Jack's doing, or this is what her roommate with Sarah's doing, and I'm okay, but what about Lori and Jack? So at those moments it was just very hard to read, because it is kind of a lengthy book. But I overall really loved it, because it's just such a rom-com, and the ending, I have no problems. So those were the books that I read in March. Loved them all. 10 out of 10. Okay, moving on to my April TBR. So I'm gonna just give, I'm not reading all these in April, but quite frankly, I'm a mood reader and I need options. So I'm gonna talk about all the options that I've given myself for April. So because the last book I read was that one day in December, and that rom-com vibe, mood, all that, I was definitely thinking about that when thinking about books. So I did struggle a little bit, where I feel I just have a bunch of rom-com, romance, whatever books. The first one is The Wedding Date. Pretty sure there's a movie on it. Essentially, okay, so it follows Alexa and Drew, and Alexa is someone that I wouldn't say by the book, but she's just someone that isn't some spontaneous person. And on the eve of Drew's ex's wedding festivities, I guess, he doesn't have a +1. There's a power outage that in a building he's working in, and they're in an elevator together. She agrees to be his +1, and then it's oh, maybe I actually really enjoy your company. So I think that'll be cute. It's a classic. The Unhoneymooners. I know this is kind of a popular book on TikTok, I think. I don't know. I'm not on TikTok, but anyways. Unhoneymooners. So I think it's an enemies to lovers thing. Olive and Ethan are enemies, arch nemesis type thing, and they're both in the same wedding party, I guess. And at the wedding, everyone gets sick, including the bride and groom, except those two. And so now there's this honeymoon that's gonna go to waste, and so they're we'll go, we'll enjoy it, and they're we'll call a truce for the time of this honeymoon. And then they just oh wait, maybe this is actually cool, and maybe we're actually not enemies. Alex Approximately. This one's kind of weird if I really think about it, but I know it's popular. So these two people are talking online and they connect over movies. Bailey is someone that I think lives overseas, but she, lands this job in the same town as the guy that she's talking to online, but she doesn't like tell him about it. And they don't know each other's like real names. And essentially they meet, but they don't know that it's each other. So I don't know how it's gonna be like revealed, but it sounds kind of interesting. Like, oh, you're talking to someone online, like, all the time, or you seem to like them or whatever, but like you meet in person, but you don't know it's that person because you guys don't know each other's real names. Kind of weird, but also could be really good. Next up, I got One of Us is Lying. It's like Breakfast Club meets A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So essentially, these group of students all having those total backgrounds of the Breakfast Club, like, oh, I'm a jock and I'm a nerd and all that stuff. They all are in like what I don't think it'd be detention, like, but they're just in the same room. Oh, nope, they're for some reason in detention. Anyways, one of them dies, and clearly one of them is lying as to who did it. I think it really could be good because I loved A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and this totally reminds me of it, so I'm hoping I'll really like this. And then I got Shadow and Bone. I think I really only picked this up because it said it was coming to Netflix, and maybe it already is on Netflix, and it looked really interesting, and it's not something I would normally read. So unfortunately, I feel like I'm gonna have to really read the back of this because I don't know if I could explain it well. Fantasy can sometimes be hard to explain or summarize, but it follows Alina, and she's orphaned and expendable. So she is a soldier, and she knows that she may not survive like her first trek across the Shadowfold, and when under attack, she all of a sudden finds out she has some like power or magic or whatever that she didn't know she had, and so she's gonna enter a lavish world of royalty and intrigue as she trains with Grisha, her country's magical military elite. And then there is some leader that puts them, under some like spell type thing. He wants Alina, the main character, to use her powers to destroy the Shadowfold, reuniting their war-ravaged country, but only if she can master her untamed gift. As the treat to the kingdom mounts and Alina unlocks the secrets of her past, she will make a dangerous discovery that could threaten all she loves in the very future of the nation. So I wonder if it's about like Shadowfold isn't really as bad as they seem. I don't know. I'm just kind of confused. I think it will be good. I'm just not that great at explaining it. It's a fantasy book. That's really all you need to know. Then I got The Selection. Quite frankly, it just reminded me of Bridgerton, and I couldn't pass it up. So for 35 girls, The Selection is a chance of a lifetime, the opportunity to escape the life laid out of them since birth, to be swept up in the world of glittery gowns and priceless jewels, to live in a palace and compete for the heart of gorgeous Prince Maxon. But for the main girl, she hates the idea. She's like, this is stupid, I hate this, blech. But then she meets the prince, and she's like, on second thought, maybe not. Maybe this isn't as bad. I think it'll be good. And then my battery's dying, so we'll see if I can get through this, but the Red Queen. So essentially, there are two kinds of people in this society, the people with red blood and the people with silver. And the people with silver have like powers, so that's what makes them elite. And the main character finds out that she has powers, but her blood is red. So what's that about? So yeah, okay, cool. That's really all. That's, she's then forced into like a life that she was not expecting to be forced into, and then has to kind of figure out like the good and bad. She's like, I hate the silvers, but now I'm kind of a silver, but I'm red, and now I'm meeting different people, emotions. Okay, that wraps up my April TBR list. So there's like 7 books, I think. I'm probably not gonna read them all, but I wanted options. I think we got options. So we'll see how that goes. Now I have 5 remaining books that I also picked up that I just wanted to include in this video as kind of a bonus haul, I guess. First one, I recently watched the 2005 Pride and Prejudice movie, guys. But I do want to read the book, so I went ahead and got that. I got Alice in Wonderland, Through the Looking Glass. I love the 2 movies. Those 2 movies have my heart forever. I think they're just literally amazing. So I got the books. I think it's just kind of fun to have. Another book I got is A Wrinkle in Time. I think it's just kind of a classic to have in your collection along with at some point to read. My mom loves this book. It's one of her favorites. So when I saw it, I knew I had to get it. I'm looking forward to reading this. I think it'll be just like a very quick, easy read. Next, I got The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Of course, of course, of course. I haven't read any of those books, so I thought this would be so great. And I don't know, I just think it'll be fun to have to read someday. It's not really like in a rush to read, but cool. And then the last book I got is The Fellowship of the Ring, the first Lord of the Rings book. I'll read it eventually. I've watched the movies. Oh, that's a really small print and a very big book. We'll see how that goes. But I know that I will want to read it eventually. I did really enjoy the movies, so it's just something to kind of have. Okay, that is it for the video. I'm hoping that this was actually kind of fun. I don't know. I had fun because I am totally loving all the books that I read and the books that I got. I want to buy more books all the time. Like, I could spend $1,000 on books right now. Okay, that's a lot. I could probably spend 500. I think that's pretty easy if I got like hardcovers. It adds up fast. But that's it. This was the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you actually watched this whole thing, you're amazing. Okay, I'll see you in my next one.